Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. This is great. So I appreciate the time. I know it's pretty early for everybody, including me, but I thank you so much for coming along. I do a lot of presenting, and this is one of my favorite pitches. I teach this at a number of incubators. I'm a mentor at Arizona State University. I'm a paid mentor there, and I mentor at a couple of business incubators around town, being SeedSpot and also Hunkapi. So it's just what I learned many years ago, and the reason that I'm doing this pitch now is that I used to be just horrible at pitching, horrible at presenting. And my experience and my career was in technology sales. And to do that, you have to be really good at presenting. You have to be really good at pitching. So my first pitch, my slides were unintelligible. I was standing up here, I was sweating, clammy palms, I couldn't string more than 3 words together, and the guys in the audience went, I have no idea what you're talking about. Which is just right, and that happened like 3 or 4 times. Fortunately, I was working for General Electric at the time, and they put me through a sales training course and an intensive 2-day presentation skills pitching workshop. Fantastic. Changed my life, changed my income, and changed my career. So it's so important. So that's the loop back here, because I know what a difference it made in my life and what a difference it makes in other people's lives, particularly in leadership positions. So, where do I stand? So to me, leadership is about 3 things. It's all about communication, and it's all about teaming. Teaming, whether it be leading a team, building a team, being part of a team, all about teaming. And the third thing is problem solving. Now, for this is going to be talking about communication, specifically about presenting. And at the end, we've got a nice little exercise to talk that's going to focus on problem solving and teaming. So, nice little bit of rope exercise later on if nobody minds being tied up.
It is the wildly easily developed.
Is what? Sorry?
Clearly it's about living wildly.
I know, right? Exactly. That's where all the fun is. So, today, in communication, there's 3 things that I'm going to be talking to you about. First one is you, then it's your audience, and it's going to be your pitch. So this is a fairly logical presentation, right? The first thing is, why should you learn how to pitch? I mean, this is just a core skill in everything that you do. If you can't pitch, if you can't sell, you're not going to be able to succeed. Whether you're working, whether you're selling your product, your service to your team, to your investors, whoever it is, you need to be able to communicate effectively, whether it's one-on-one or whether it's 1 to 50. If you can't do this, it doesn't matter how great your workshop is, how great your product is, how great your idea is. If you can't communicate it, you failed. So that's why, for me, this is probably the most important thing that you can do. So, pitching, my definition. This is the transfer of enthusiasm about your product, service, or idea or business from you to your audience. Transfer of enthusiasm from you to the audience. So the audience will walk away and go, oh, that was really cool. I like the guy, I like the idea, whatever it is. And then they'll take that enthusiasm and then go from there. But it's a transfer of enthusiasm, not a transfer of data, not a transfer of information, but it's a transfer of enthusiasm. If you're enthusiastic about it, you will go and find your own information about it and pick it up from there. It's a very important point. It's not data. Now, why should you pitch? You have to be doing this all the time. Whether it's to your partner, to your business partners, to the people in your workshops, to the person in the street, whatever it is, you need to get them engaged. And particularly if you're working in an organization, you have to be pitching to your employees, your new hires, your investors, your partners, your customers, everybody, so they continue to be enthused about what it is that you're doing. So if you're a leader and you cannot transfer your enthusiasm to the people in your team will fail. Absolutely. But a great leader will be totally enthusiastic, passionate, committed, enthusiastic about the idea, and can transfer that enthusiasm to the people in the team so they will go and execute properly. Does that make sense? Right. Please, if there's any questions or ideas or bombs to throw at me, just put up your hand and ask away. This is probably the most important thing. That's what leadership do. They motivate the members of the team to make them go and execute with excellence. So, what makes a great pitch? any number of things, but for me there's three things. There's, you've got to be committed, you've got to be passionate, and you've got to be enthusiastic. If you don't have those three things, people will never walk away feeling excited about what it is that you do. And there's any number of things that are in there, but for me the top three things are commitment, passion, and enthusiasm. So I spend a lot of time working with startup organizations through mentoring, and I've invested in a few. And the CEO, when the CEO is trying to raise money, trying to get new customers, trying to build new partners on board, they are presenting all the time. And that's what they've got to be doing. So when I look for people for me to invest in, I look for passion, commitment, and enthusiasm. The idea, who cares? But if the CEO is committed to making things happen, they'll make things happen. And if it's a bad idea, they'll make it a good idea. But if you have an uncommitted, unpassionate, unenthusiastic CEO, unenthusiastic leader, it doesn't matter how good the idea is, the team will fail to execute because they're not committed to it if the leader is not committed to it. And the leader has to communicate their passion and enthusiasm. All right. So this is when you're doing a pitch, this is the most important thing. And this is very specific words. You want people to believe you, and you want people to believe in you so that they will respond to your ask. Okay? So let me break that down and deconstruct it a bit. So you want people to believe you. You have to be credible. You have to be passionate, commitment, enthusiastic about what it is that you're selling. And very clearly you have to know, and you have to communicate that fact that you know the subject that you're talking about. If you come across as being fake or false or insincere, the audience will hear it. You can't fake it until you make it because people see right through that. I hate that phrase. Because if you fake it, someone's going to see right through you and ask the question. And then you're shot. So once they believe you, you have to get people to believe in you. And belief is a very, very strong part of that. The last thing is you have to get them so they will respond to your ask. Now that presupposes you know why you're there doing the presentation. Why are you there? What are you going to ask your audience for? If you don't know why you're there, and if you don't know what you want from the audience, what are you doing there? Otherwise, you're just wasting everyone's time and just having a nice cup of tea. Seriously, you've got to know what is the objective, very, very specific objective of each presentation that you do. And you have to ask the audience for something. Okay? So, breaking it down a little bit. First of all, you. If you are going to be doing the pitch, you have to know yourself. You have to be very secure and confident in what you do. Because if you don't know who you are, if you're not confident in pitching, it's going to show. So, some of the questions you have to ask, if you're pitching, do you enjoy pitching? And if you don't enjoy pitching, again, that's going to show, because if you're up here and you're uncomfortable, you stammer, you stumble, it's going to show, and the passion, commitment, and enthusiasm is going to fall flat on the floor like a dead fish. And people will not buy into it, and people will not be committed to your ask and committed to what it is that you're trying to achieve. Are you good at pitching? Most people think they are. Most people aren't. And if you are good at it, how do you know? Just because your mum says you're good at it doesn't mean that you're good. Or just because the person who reports to you says, yes, Mr. CEO, or Mrs. CEO, you're really good at pitching, you're the best. Don't believe them. You have to find the person who is best at pitching to deliver that pitch. Because if you think you're great and you're not, you can't deliver, you can't transfer that passion from yourself to the audience. So you need to find the best person. And again, it's an ego thing. If you're the head of an organization, you have to hand it off to somebody else who's better at pitching. So the question is, are you the best person? Oftentimes, you think, the CEO is not. Sometimes the head of sales, so I've seen some awesome finance people present, sometimes head of marketing, but you've got to find the right person to pitch in the right situation. So, back to, this is probably one of the most important things. 93% of communication you do in presentations is non-verbal. When I say it's non-verbal, it's non-data, it's the words. So words transfer information, about 7% of information. 93% is movement, vocal inflection, tone, speed, lift, all those kinds of things. Only 7%. Now, one of the charts back before I said knowledgeable, you've got to be knowledgeable about what it is you're presenting. So I always thought this was some kind of internet myth. So, being the analytic person I am, I went and found the study, and this is an actual study. Professor Mehrabian in 1971, a study called Silent Messages. 7% is data, 38% is vocal intonation, 55% body language. Your body language is the most important thing. So confidence and the appearance of confidence is extremely important. So these are the questions that they asked in the study. I actually found the study in cut and paste. So people identify the emotions 50% more often from the visualization than the voice. So it's the physicality of the person, that's what communicates the emotion. And the second question, people were more influenced by the tone of the voice than the words themselves. So the words are not meaningless, but there's a small part. So I've got this presentation's a little bit of a paradox. I'm trying to give you data, but there's only about 7% of everything I'm giving you is actually data. So that's why I'm trying to reinforce it just a little bit. Learn. All right. Now, people don't remember the words. People don't remember data. So if you have a presentation full of data, they are not going to remember. They just won't. It's just the way we're hired. All that people remember is the way that you made them feel. That's all. That's why beer commercials are so good. Puppies and ponies and snow time and getting home in time for Christmas. That's all Budweiser is. It's nothing about the beer. They just want to make you feel good. That's all they do. And people remember how you make them feel. And you do that body language, vocal variety, tone, eye contact, movement, those kinds of things. Never read notes and never stand behind a podium. I was looking at some photos on Facebook from the opening night, and I think the speaker he got up there and he stood behind a podium and he read some notes. Okay? So that is he's completely destroyed 93% of his communication capability. He's not moving, he's hiding his body behind the podium and he's reading notes. And when you read, your vocal intonation, your inflection, your speed, your rhythm diminishes. And so he's sitting there and he's trying to give you data and no one's listening. Whenever somebody walks out and starts reading notes from behind a podium, I'm just going, please just shoot me. I mean, it's a waste of time. You never remember anything. And the first thing you do is pull out your phone and start texting your friends, It just doesn't happen. All right. Body language. All right. This should work. And here we go. Okay. So this is information from a biometrics lab. And what they've done, they put people on a treadmill and put those little ping pong balls on them so they can measure the movement. So what they've done, they've got like thousands of people have responded to this and said, okay, well, if this person is looking like this, what is my reaction to this person? All right? So I'm just going to focus on the nervous, confident one, nervous, relaxed. So if we look at this one, if someone if they walk like this, they appear, or the perception is, they're nervous. See the shoulders go up, they're moving a little bit faster, and it's not that the person is nervous, but this is what the perception of the person who's looking at it, that is what their perception of that person is. They perceive that person is nervous. All right? It's a very important point. If they're relaxed, oops. Shoulders come down, slower, hands are slightly more right to the side here, slower gait, and just a more relaxed gait. Now this person could be nervous, but they appear to be more relaxed because of their body language. Does that make sense? All right. And there's all kinds of male, female, heavy, light, and so on, so I won't go through that.
Could you just for fun see what a more happy person
Sure.
is like?
Yeah.
Happy and relaxed.
Okay, so that's neutral. There's happy. Arms are swinging more, slightly more lateral movement. And here's a sad person. I know. I know. Isn't that awesome?
Is this available online?
Yes, it is. Yeah, just go to that URL. It's fascinating. So, and that person could be really happy, but that is the perception of the way this person is moving. Okay, and just for that's heavy. You see a lot of lateral movement in that one, and light. Okay, so it's particularly fascinating. So the for me, like, you know, the nervousness, very tight, very controlled movement, and then the shoulders come down and much more relaxed walk. Okay? All right, so again, it's about the body movement, and the body movement conveys the emotion: happy, sad, relaxed, confident, whatever it is, nervousness. All right. The other thing is, going back to the point where the words are irrelevant. So what I'm going to show you now is like about a 51-second clip, and there are 13 different stories in that 51-second clip with just one word. All right? Believe me, it works. Where is it? Sorry. I know, right? It's not about the words. It's just about the vocalization, the looks, the body language. And it was just like one word. And there was 13 different stories in like 55 seconds, and I bet you can tell each story in detail. So it's never about the words. It's always just about how you look and the intonation, because every use of the word dude was different. And that tells its own story, okay? It's so true though. It's just true. I mean, where would this country be without beer commercials? All right. Or without beer in general. Okay. So, this is the confidence and nervousness thing. The first thing you do when you walk out on a stage, or if you're preparing to go out on stage, put your shoulders back and put them down. Because that not only makes you look more confident, you will feel stronger and you'll own the space much better. Because if you come out like this, your shoulders, a nervous reaction is the shoulders come up first thing and you kind of hunch over a little bit and it constricts the flow up and down your air pipe of air. So if you bring your shoulders back and down, it straightens your spine, and it is the most important thing to give you an impression of confidence and a way that you can articulate your voice more, and the breath comes up and down your windpipe much more effectively. It is the best thing to do. Warm up your voice. Every athlete warms up before the game, particularly if you've got a good pitch. Sing in the shower, sing in the car, talk for someone for 20 minutes, do vocal exercises. Warm up your voice. It's a muscle and you're going to be using it for 45 minutes. I did my voice exercises in the half-hour drive. I was on my way up here. So you have to warm up. Stand grounded. Own the space. And part of that owning the space is being confident. You're planted, you're firm, and you are here and people know that you are here. Because if you kind of almost like apologetically come out and you don't really know where you want to stand and you're shuffling around, it creates a terrible impression. But if you stand the shoulders back and down and you own the space, people think that you are much more confident. Okay? But the shoulders back and down is the most important thing. Now, particularly morning presentations, no caffeine. Just don't, all right? Just don't. If you really want to, I had one coffee this morning, and that's probably a little bit too much. My worst presentation ever was at the City of Surprise. There was like 150 people in the audience, 200 people. I started at 7, and I had to get up at 5 to drive across, and I had 3 coffees by the time I was there. And I was talking a million miles an hour. It was the most horrible presentation, and it's out there on the internet somewhere. And it's just terrible. It's a perfect example of what you shouldn't do. So no caffeine. You think you're nervous? I'll have another coffee. Think, oh, well, I like that one. That will just destroy your presentation. All right. Now, people sometimes drink coffee to get rid of nervousness. Who gets nervous in front of before presentations? Okay, there's a couple of you who don't have your hand up, and you're all liars. So, okay? So it's even I get nervous, and I kind of do this for a living, basically. Nervousness is just an ego response to the situation. Everybody has nerves, but it is purely just an ego response. This Harvard Business Review article is an article about how even CEOs of Fortune 500 companies get nervous before large presentations. It is an ego-driven response. Because the reason you have nerves is that you are worried about your reputation, you are worried about what people think about you. So if you're doing a presentation for 100 people, there's going to be 100 different versions of your reputation. And you can't run around and say, oh, what did you think about me? Ooh, what should I do to do better? Did you like me? Did you like me? And everybody's going to tell you something different, and you can't be concerned about that. All right? So with me, when I'm doing a presentation, I do not care about my reputation. I do not care. I'm not interested. And I think that when you're doing presentations, you should not care about your reputation either. Okay? Yes?
So, 2 questions related to this whole nervousness. One is, I found that there's good nervous that kind of gets you jazzed, and then there's bad nervous that makes you kind of glued.
Right.
And then the second thing is, I've noticed there are times when I've presented and I'm not nervous, and it's actually kind of like a letdown. Like I don't feel like I'm as fully committed, excited, engaged, yada,
Right.
yada. So can you speak to those 2?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. It's actually in the next slide, I think. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So, 2 slides. Can I come back to your question in 2 minutes and 2 slides time? Okay. So, reputation. So, when I talk about reputation, I don't care about what happens down here. The most important thing is, what is your vision, your mission, your character, your why? Okay? Because when you focus on that, that drives all of your actions. Everything that you do. And your actions drive the consequent reputation. Okay? So I don't care about my reputation. What I do care about is my vision, my mission, my character, morals, ethics, values, my why. Now, if something's wrong down here, either my actions are wrong, either my actions are not aligned with this, or this is wrong. Okay? But this is what I worry about, and I don't really care what happens down here. Well, I do, because that means something up here is the issue. But that's where I focus. Does that make sense? All right. It's a really important thing, because everybody goes, oh my God, my reputation's the most important thing. And it's not. Your reputation is purely the consequence of your beliefs, your vision, your why. So that's why people, that's why there's a lot of workshops on write your own personal mission statement. What do you believe in? What is the corporation's mission statement? What are you trying to achieve? What is your why? And that's what drives you, and that, as a consequence, that's what drives the reputation. Yeah? This one's big. Okay? All right. To your point, nervousness is just a form of energy. Now, most people think of nervousness as being a negative energy, and it holds you back. And then, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I'm nervous, I'm sweaty, my palms, Sometimes it could be because you don't know what you're doing, and then you're justifiably nervous. But if it's something that you know what to do, and then you get nervous, nervousness is just a form of energy. And if you use it to hold you back, it will hold you back. In that situation, what most people try and do is stop the energy, clamp it down, and get rid of it, which is a really, for me, it's a stupid thing to do because you have this tremendous amount of energy that you've created. So what you got to do is use it as a force for good. So instead of having this nervous energy holding you back, and it's horrible. I mean, I used to vomit before presentations. Horrible. I nearly drove my, I was on my way to a presentation once, and I really didn't want to do this presentation. Really nervous. I nearly drove my car off the road so I wouldn't have to do it. I had a car accident. And look, here's my car. Seriously, I was like, It's a really, really powerful force. So what you have to do is accept that it's an energy and you flip it around and use it to propel you forward. All right? If you try and dispel it, try and stop this energy from happening, you're just wasting this perfectly great energy. So if you can flip it around, instead of holding you back, you flip it around to pushing you forward. Imagine someone pushing you and just kind of flip instead of pushing you this way, they're behind you and they push you forward. If you ever go to a rock concert, you will see that most of the people, when they're right at the start of the presentation, they come bursting out, because they've got all this energy. It's a lot of nervous energy, anticipation, whatever it is, and they've all of a sudden they've got it behind them, and it just pushes them out, and then they can then manage and control that energy from that point on. So nervous energy, I think, is a really, really good thing. But once you recognize that that is strong energy holding you back, all you got to do is flip it around, use that force for good, Luke. That's all you got to do, and let it push you forward. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question? Yeah? Now, if you don't have energy, it means you're not engaged, you're not present. So you need to have some kind of nervous anticipation. And I think energy is good. Whether it's nervous energy, you can manage it. Anticipation, something like that, it's awesome. If you don't have energy, you're either disengaged, you don't want to be there, you're not interested, so why are you there in the first place? Right? So you have to build up, and you have to build up that energy. So my favorite, so use it to serve you. Don't let it punish you or hold you back, but use that energy to serve you. It serves you, not you serve it. And you think like a rock star. When a rock star bursts out on the stage, they are there and they are just rocking and rolling. You can imagine, imagine a rock star. He came out and stood behind a podium and read the words of the song. That's just not what it's all about. You go there you go to see a concert for the music, but you go to see the performance perform. It's a performance. So when you speak up on a stage, you are on stage. It's deliberate the word. You are on stage. This is a performance. All right? Everybody okay with this? Not many questions? We good? You're all awake? Need more coffee. Okay. So know your audience. I've seen some presentations when a guy will get up and do a marketing pitch, and it's a room full of engineers. And he's going, what? What happened here? It's like, well, he didn't do his homework. So you have to know who you're presenting to and why they are there. You have to know why you're there for a very specific reason. You have to know why they're there. Who are they? All right? You'll notice I went around and introduced myself to everybody, found out where you are, where you come from, got a sense of the room. So if you can do that as much as possible, talk to the audience as much as possible before you start your presentation. Get a feel for who they are, what they're looking for, the sense of the room, and then you can modify your pitch, your vocalizations, everything according to what they're expecting. Who are they? Why are they there? Where are they from? What are they looking for? And then you tailor it to the audience. I'm in the startup world, the venture world, so a marketing pitch is very, very different from an investment pitch. So, but you have to know who your audience is and why you're there. Otherwise, it's an empty, disconnected presentation. My job is to make people feel rather than learn. Sorry, yes?
I work with physicians, and I went into my board one day just so excited about a strategic direction. I had the passion, I had the commitment, I had all of it. But I was talking to a bunch of scientists, and fortunately I'm tenacious and I go back to it again.
Right.
But absolutely, I didn't think about tailoring my pitch to the doctors.
Yes. Yeah.
They were staring at me. I looked at my
Right.
CFO and said, "Can you help?" And he was like, "Well, not really."
Yeah.
whatever it is, 95% is nonverbal, and
Right.
it's about the energy that you bring, and if you've got an audience that doesn't respond to that, then.
There are some audiences where I said you've got to know who your audience is. Doctors are very data-driven. Engineers are very data-driven. And so in this case, you have to give them the data, but also appeal to their medical ego. I can help you change the world through medicine, whatever it is. I can help you treat more patients more efficiently at a lower cost than you can get to the golf course by 3:30 on a Friday. Okay, so whatever it is, if you understand them and understand what motivates them, okay? For them, doctors might be healing people better in their practice, making more money, getting out early on a Friday. Understand the audience, why they're there, what's going to appeal to them. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay, but yeah, that's why it's the most important, because if you go in with a marketing spiel to a bunch of doctors who are going, what? It might be the greatest presentation in the world, but you've mismatched yourself in the audience.
Well, it actually wasn't a great presentation either,
But you were passionate about it, so you went back and right. But you went back and you went back and you went back, and you got it executed.
I did, eventually, yes.
Great, cool. So how did you get it executed? What happened?
Going back and looking at it again through their eyes, working with my board chair, who's a surgeon also, and finding out, as he calls it, since we're herding cats, he calls it finding their tuna. So we had to identify that.
There you go. Well, I'm going to use that one. Yeah.
So we had to find their tuna and then draw them to that, so that it doesn't take less time in their day. It does improve the number of patients that will be drawn to you, that kind of thing. So.
Okay, great. Find their tuna. I like that one. Love it. All right.
Attribute it to Tim Nowrosky, please.
That's great. So more of the same. Particularly if it's a small group, you've really got to understand. If I'm doing a presentation to less than 10 people, I find out who they are in advance. Go on LinkedIn, find out who they are, what are their, what's their background, everything else. You really got to do your homework. The presentation is not in isolation from the audience. The presentation has to be embedded in the audience, in what their expectations are, what their desires are, what they're looking for. So I can't do a presentation in isolation from an audience. Otherwise, just like might as well show a video. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. With the audience, I said this is not in isolation from the audience. You have to treat your audience respectfully and professionally. You have to be. The great thing about a great presenter is that you have to be a great audience member as well. So if I'm presenting, I'm working hard and I like to have an engaged audience. If I'm in the audience, I'm a deeply engaged audience member. My phone is down, I'm nodding, I'm smiling, I'm looking supportive, I'm taking notes. Even if it's just a shopping list, I'm still taking notes. But as a presenter, there's nothing worse when an audience is actively disengaged and don't treat the presenter with respect. Okay, so I treat the audience respectfully, and we ask that the audience treats the presenter respectfully. Because oftentimes you'll be presenting, then you go and sit down, and somebody else in your audience will get up and present. And sometimes they'll be sitting down on their phone, ignoring you during their presentation, and then when it's their turn to present, they're complaining about how the audience isn't listening to them. It's like, well, because you weren't listening to them in the first place. I like this one. This was, remember, you are always on stage. So I used to spend time with venture capitalists and startups, and I was talking to a venture capitalist a few years ago at a conference, and he was thinking about investing in a startup, and he'd seen the CEO present, he'd gone through the business model, liked the business model, wasn't sure about the CEO, was not really quite sure about his personality and his mood. So what he did, and this is the whole thing about being on stage all the time, they were at a cocktail party that night, and he had one of his friends go up and just give the guy a nudge in the conference, and he spilled his drink. So the CEO spilled his drink, nudged him, drink on his pants and stuff, and the CEO went ballistic, went crazy. And so the venture capitalist was on the other side of the room. He saw all of this, and said, that CEO's got a bad temperament, I will not invest in him. Even though he liked the business model, he thought the team was pretty good, the CEO had a bad temperament and therefore he wouldn't do it, wouldn't invest. So you are always on stage, from the time you leave home in the morning to do a presentation to the time that you walk out the door. okay? I've done presentations. I used to work for IBM, and we do presentations for a proposal for like $10, $15 million. And then one guy I was presenting to, he used to send his secretary out in the elevator to ride down in the elevator with the team who just pitched. And the guys who've done the pitch, they don't know who this person is. And so the secretary would just listen to the commentary of the people in the elevator. And they would slander people, or some people that was a wonderful pitch, and just stand there knowing that there was somebody else in the elevator. Other people would just start mouthing off. So you're always on stage, and you never know what's going to happen. It's a good thing to do. Always be very professional until you're at home and you've locked the doors and nobody else can come in. All right. So when you're talking to your audience, America's favorite radio station, WIIFM, what's in it for me? And that's why you're here. What's in it for me? So you're here to understand certain things. So as you're presenting, you have to know that the audience is here for a certain reason. Any questions on that? Nope. All right. Okay. Pretty much the last couple more slides to go. So when you're doing your pitch, why are you there? You have to be there for a very specific reason. Otherwise, it's kind of a waste of your time and a waste of the audience's time. You're just giving a presentation just to give a presentation. Right? So I know why I'm here. Though I've got a couple of very specific objectives. You also really need to know what you're talking about. You have to be knowledgeable. You can't fake it until you make it. I've been in some presentations where an executive's got up and given a presentation, and someone asked a question about one of the points on his slide, and the executive said, I don't know. I was just given this presentation and told to give the presentation. Which is exactly. And everybody went, okay, fine, done, thank you. And a couple of people got up and walked out because he wasn't treating the audience with respect. He wasn't coming prepared. So he completely lost the audience at that moment. The other thing is you always got to have a 30-second elevator pitch ready. Whatever it is that you're doing. If I ask you about your leadership program, I would hope that you would have a 30-second elevator pitch ready. And same with everybody here. I wasn't picking on you, so I'm not going to ask you.
So, Michael, having that 30-second elevator pitch ready is really difficult for our leadership programs sometimes, especially for those of us who deal with everything from CEOs to sixth graders.
Uh-huh.
As a recent graduate of Valley Leadership, how would you describe the program in 30 seconds?
Valley Leadership educates up and coming leaders to become more knowledgeable about Phoenix, about what has to be done to make it a great city, and encourages them to participate in public service and community service to make it a better city. Is that right? Pretty much it. You've got to be able to clearly and concisely, I couldn't repeat that again, but but that you've really got to know what it does. You're creating the younger leaders of today, right? Younger leaders of tomorrow, whatever it is. You've got to be able to very clearly. Otherwise, you've got a 3-minute explanation, and if you don't know what you're saying, the audience isn't going to know what you're saying either.
Well, we have a junior high school, or high school program for juniors and seniors, and we were at an event at our mall, and we have the juniors work with us at our table.
Right.
And I thought, well, let me ask, this junior how they would describe the program in 30 seconds. And I said, well, if you had to describe the program, how would you describe it? And she goes, life-changing. I said, fine, I'll just put that in the brochure.
Perfect.
I'm good.
Life-changing, preparing for the future. Exactly, yep.
Well, that's what I would square the 30-second elevator pitch. I know there's been a lot, especially when you started out by talking about a pitch is not a transfer of information or data, and the pitch you gave about the program was a transfer of information and data.
I know, right? Yeah.
So, there's been a lot of literature now that the elevator pitch is dead and you need a 6-word sentence or you need a 1-word catch thing. You talk more about, if you're always on and we're never at rest, what is the best way that you think to convey that kind of information? I don't know if you've seen the 6-word sentences. We do that as an exercise.
Yeah. A 6-word postcard is actually really good. Yeah. There's another one there.
So, versus a 30-second elevator pitch, which, the theory for that was you'd have time on an elevator, which nobody has that much time anyway. People's attention spans are so short. If they can't see it on one screen, they're not going to read it.
Okay, so 10-second elevator pitch. I don't really care. If it's 10 seconds or 30 seconds or 20 seconds or 15, just be able to really clearly communicate the idea briefly to somebody. Okay, whether it's 6 words, whether it's 10 seconds or 30 seconds, I don't care. But have that ability to communicate to somebody else what you're doing. Then they go, oh, that's interesting, tell me more. Then you can give them the 10-second one, then you give them the 30-second one, and then you do the greater one. But you need to be, the point is clarity. You need to be clear about what you're saying and be able to communicate that effectively so they get it. Yeah, does that answer the question? And if you can do it in 6 words, if you want to do it in haiku, I don't care. As long as you can communicate your passion and commitment and enthusiasm for that into somebody else. Because if you go, oh, I do valet leadership, it's pretty crappy. All right, so there's no enthusiasm there. But with your kids, it's life-changing. It's in 2 words, they've communicated their passion, commitment, and enthusiasm for it. So 2 words, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, I don't care, but you need to have a short version that you can effectively communicate to somebody else. Yeah? Make sense? Yep. But that's those 6 words. 6 words is great, 2 words is great, whatever works, basically. And you know it, you'll know it when you do it. Okay? I don't care about 30 seconds if you want to do 10 seconds or 6 words. Yeah?
Michael behind you.
Yes, sorry.
It's kind of along the same lines, though. I would assume the same thing that you said earlier. Still in that, whatever it is, 6 words, 3 words, 30 seconds, the audience,
Yep.
right? The message, what it is that you are pitching
Right.
is critical.
Yeah, because it's if you're at a family gathering and your second cousin says, "Oh, well, what have you been doing these days?" That's a very different 10-second conversation to somebody somebody at the conference here talking about the leadership program. All right, so it's understanding who the audience is. Are they just making small talk, or are they interested in the program, or are they interested in you as a person and what you do? So you've got to understand the environment and the person and tailor the response to that person and that environment.
And the reason why I brought that up is because when the question was asked, what would be the 30-second elevator speech about Valley, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking about all of us who represent leadership programs all over the United States, kind of the other way around. What would you say is a pitch that makes Valley, whatever word you want to use, better, different, distinct? Because I listened to what you said, and
Yep.
I could substitute leadership loudly.
Right,
It'd be exactly
but
the
we're in Phoenix, and you're in wherever you are, okay? So we are the premier leadership program in Phoenix. We take young leaders, we take leaders and up-and-coming leaders, train them, educate them, inform them, and send them on their way to have a greater role in the growth of Phoenix. And you could use Akron, Ohio, or Los Angeles, California, whatever it is, because I think all leadership programs have got a similar objective. And we don't compete, so it's just kind of what we do. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay. Any more questions? Nope. All right. So yeah, just coming back, looping back to the beginning, you need to get people to believe you and believe in you, so they're going to respond to your ask. Okay? All right. Start with the why. When I started this presentation, I told the story about this is where I came from, this is my first I did horrible presentations when I was young, I got trained, and now here I am. So people want the personal connection. Start your pitch with a story. People want to be engaged. They want to be engaged with you as a person, and they hear your story. So from that, you build an emotional connection. So you'll remember me not because of these 6 points, but because I'm Australian and I used to be a horrible presenter, and now I'm pretty good, basically. And you might take away some other data, but you'll remember how I made you feel. Okay? You have to build a fairly compelling story arc. This is it's an arc of a story. The best stories, the movies, the books, it's a story arc that you're building. And you start with, this is where everything started, this is the conflict, this is the problem. We went through education, had a couple of failures along the way, now I'm successful, and now I'm giving back to those who aren't very good, okay? Or who need development. So it's just purely an arc. So you start with why, and then you go through the how, and then the what. Now, I recommend you should have, there is a video on YouTube called The Golden Circle. Has anybody seen this? Simon Sinek. This is the most compelling 8 minutes you will spend in your life. Okay? So if you want to understand organizations, presentations, go and watch this. It's called The Golden Circle. There's an 18-minute TED Talk, but there is a 6-minute version in there. It is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And what he does, he starts with the why. For business, for person, for anything else. The Golden Circle. All right. Now, once you've understood all this and you know how to build a presentation, there's four things you've got to do. You've got to practice, 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 and then practice more. When I'm mentoring people through SeedSpot, they do a pitch practice for a demo day, and I require them to do 30 practices a week. They have to go through their pitch 30 times. Some of them filmed, some of them in front of a live audience. And if they do 30 times, they've got to do it. But 30 times a week. And this is a 10-week program, right? So by the time they're ready, they know what to do. So there was one woman I was mentoring, and she had a fairly important practice coming up. And I said, get there early, be professional, relax, blah, blah, blah. She had a meeting that ran late, ran into traffic, and she walked in the door, and it was her time on, and she was frazzled. She's a pretty tense person anyway, but she was able to walk straight on and literally 5 seconds later start talking. Because she'd practiced it so often, she knew how to do it, she knew how to manage her nerves, she knew how to manage the energy of the room, and she was able to deliver it straight away because she'd practiced it so much. You can't just think, oh, I'm good at this because my mum told me so, and I'll be able to give a great presentation because of practice. It is just the basics. The best athletes, they practice the basic stuff over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's all they do. And then they'll do it again next week. So you have to practice. All right. Don't worry about the words. Now, basic pitch structure. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them, and you tell them what you just told them. 3 things. It's pretty simple. Hi, my name's Michael. I'm going to tell you, how to do a pitch, how to do a great pitch today. Blah, 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 blah in the middle, and then the conclusion slide at the end. And what's that say? Oh yeah, never read your slides. Because if I go like that to the audience and go like this, I've completely broken the communication, right? I'm disrespecting you. And what I'm saying is the words that are on the slide are more important than you looking at me. If I look at the slide all the time, or if the slide is full of words, I'm saying to you, the screen is more important than me. Don't look at me, look at the slide. That's a really important thing. People think it's important to put lots and lots of words on the slides. I have the slides here to remind me to what to say next, basically. Or truthfully, yeah. That's the reason the slides are here. So I want you to hear what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. Be early, be prepared, start on time, end on time. It's basic stuff, but a lot of people don't follow it. It's all about you. It's all about the audience. Be clear about your objective. It's a little bit repetitive there. All right. So again, commitment, passion, and enthusiasm. That is the most important thing. A transfer of those things from me to you. All right. In review, this is where I'm just telling you what I've just told you. Okay? And I'm breaking it down. There's like 3 major points with 3 subpoints under each one, not to completely beat it in. 97%, sorry, it should be 93% is nonverbal. Bring your shoulders down and shoulders back and down. It's critical. Don't worry about your reputation. Focus on your vision. And use nervous energy. Nervous energy is really good. Use it to push you forward rather than hold you back. Or just let it turn sideways and let the energy go right past you. Acknowledge it and let it go. With your audience, you've got to know your audience. They're going to think, what's in it for me? Tailor the ask to the audience, and you are always on stage. I'm not going to be off stage until I'm driving home. And your pitch, start with the why, and it's never about you. It's never about me. It's all about you guys. Practice, 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 practice. All right. Questions? Does that make sense? Was that good? Everybody awake? All right. Good. So, what we have now, I think the first slide was leadership is about three things: communication, teaming, and problem solving. Thank you, whoever said that. So what we have now is the teaming and problem solving part of the exercise. So we have 1, 2, 3. Can you guys come onto this? Or you two guys, your group, you two tables are a team. So what I need is 2 volunteers from each table. Same size is probably best. Same height is probably best. You two guys, all right? So just watch what I do, and then I ask you to do the same thing. Put your hands out like this. Relaxed, but yeah. So there is slipped on, slipped on. Give me your hands. Actually. Like that, and like that. So here's the exercise. You've got to get out of it. You've got to get out of it, first of all. But there is no talking. Because communication is kind of like, there's no words unimportant when you're communicating. No screens, so you can't try and look it up on the internet. I'm in the process of copywriting this exercise, so you can't do it anyway. No screens. No untying the ropes, no cutting the ropes, no taking the ropes off. Keep going till everybody's done, but don't start yet. Okay, so we need 3 more teams because we have 3 more ropes. You two. There you go.
Not very flexible.
That's all right. Just slip it over your wrists.
Thanks, sir.
And slip it over your wrist.
All right, he's getting serious now, Jack.
All right. Jacket. Slip it over your wrist.
I think they're already, trying.
And no starting yet. All right. Who's the volunteer in this team? Come on. 2 volunteers. Oops.
Let's do it, Jerry.
There's that. And there's that. Okay, and who's the volunteers on this team? Or I can just choose 2. Come on, you 2. There we go. Just put your hands out. And just slip in. It's not tight. Okay, and there we go.
Are we insured against rope burns on this one?
Yeah, right. All right, so no talking. No screens unless you're taking a photo. No untying, no cutting, no taking it off. Keep going until you are all done. No talking. No talking.
Can I ask
Nope.
a question?
Nope. No talking. Blue team, you're going well. Keep on going. Blue team B, going well. How's the green team going? Yep, they're in the hug. And the yellow team's doing the step through. Oh, great, it's great. Now, keep going, but this is the team exercise. It's called Team Challenge, very deliberately. Team Challenge, all right. Now, in terms of problem solving, most problems most problems, if you try and solve a problem the way you think it should be solved, you're never going to solve it. You can't solve the problem The problem is never the problem. You always have to think about things differently to try and solve the problem. You just pulled it off.
I did.
Yeah, you can't take it off.
Oh, the team? The team can?
No, you
They can?
can't. No taking off, whether it's by you or by anybody else. Anybody can't. It can't come off your wrist. Now, has anybody done this before? Just by the way, I forgot to ask. You have? Okay, so can you please not engage? Yeah, thanks. Okay, so what's happening? Just stop for 10 seconds. What's happening? You can talk.
We're still trying to go through the logic of how, what.
Okay, so what's the rest of your team doing?
Right now, the videotaping.
All right,
Most of the team's not engaged.
why? How do you know?
They haven't been asked.
Do you have to be asked? Okay, so this is called a team challenge. Team challenge. Okay, now keep on going and you can talk. Okay? You can talk. Yay.
You think it's somehow? Yeah, that's what I'm clear. So are we allowed to like change what we're doing?
So there's no, you can't cut it, you can't untie it, and you can't take it off your wrist.
But can we transfer it from one wrist to the other?
No, because that means you're taking it off your wrist. I love this exercise. It's called a team challenge, and everyone just sits there. Oh, can we do something? Part of the same team?
Yeah, try that. See, it just every time you do that. So the first thing you did, I thought was pretty much.
You can't take them off, and you like.
Like if this was lower.
Oh, yeah.
No, I still feel like I'm caught. I can't see those, so I'm just gonna have to take your word for it.
It's not that kind of party, folks.
On YouTube, on the TEDx website, I've got a TED Talk on what works in the mountains, also works in your business. I do mountain climbing as a hobby, so I've got a talk on that. I climb Kilimanjaro, Aconcagua in Argentina, and a bunch of things. You want to communicate with me? Michael at Rest of Your Life. I'm really concerned with what everybody does with the rest of their life. People generally waste them. So I'm here to help people to not waste their lives. Do something good with it.
Which email do you prefer? The one that-
Either one, either is good. Rest of Your Life one is easy to remember, but you got my business card, so it doesn't matter.
Michael, what's your TED Talk called?
It's called What Works in the Mountains Also Works in Your Business. Just Google my name, it'll come up on YouTube and it'll come up. I was TEDx in Fountain Hills. Yeah. It was it was interesting because I started from, they asked me to join their the strategic advisory board. So it all came from a place of service. I just wanted to help them. So I was helping them with their strategic advisory board. And some of their speakers weren't so good. So I did speaker coaching for 6 of them, which was kind of a lot of work. And then one of them dropped out. And they said, do you want a spot? I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I started from a place of service rather than saying, I want to do a TED Talk. So it came from service to others rather than from personal ego. So yeah, and it worked. And it was fun.
How many? So you said they had 6 speakers?
No, they had about 18 speakers. We had 3 of us doing speaker training.
Was it all day?
Yes, dear God. 9 until 5, 22 speakers. I know, right? It was horrible. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a long day.
it's a long day.
Yeah, I used to work on the one in Providence, and,
It's a long day, and a lot of the speakers don't know what they're doing.
well, I feel like TED nationally does a really good job prepping their speakers, but the TEDx is kind of show up, do your thing. And,
Yeah, a lot of them pretty amateurish. Yeah.
yeah.
So we worked really hard with our speakers.
Yeah, I ended up leaving the board for the TEDx Providence because they